He was surprised that the usual was associated with a guy like this. She was very respectful, despite being so quiet, and not too sociable to continue small talk. But this guy had jerk-off written all over his face. He didn't know what she saw in a guy like him, and mainly wondered how her parents felt about the pair-up, or what was running through their minds when the relationship took place. But as he continued watching her encounter, he started coming to the conclusion that their relationship was either very one-sided on her end or close to done by him. Either way, this was not a good relationship for her to be in his opinion. But he was eased when his coworker, the girl, sent out their other coworker, Johnny Cake, to serve them. Honestly, the way she treated him was less than desirable, but considerate Johnny was more than willing to comply, and he felt this was better than having needless drama in the cafe. He was feeling better at this point for some reason, and decided to go to the bathroom to end his break. But upon reaching the door at the end of the brightly lit wall, he realized it was out of order upon finding it locked. Sighing in exasperation, he turned to find one elsewhere, but almost collided straight into his female coworker, who had just about stepped out of the supply closet at the very same time he turned. Fortunately, the cup of coffee she held didn't spill all over him, and they both breathed a sigh of relief. But then he remembered. "Janice, what were you doing in the supply closet?" Brandon, I was just taking my break." "Your break? It's not even 4 p.m. yet. And what happened to using the break room? You know drinks aren't allowed in the supply closet." He went from confused to suspicious in an instant, and her nervous, shifty behavior at his appearance sure didn't help her look innocent either. I wanted just a moment of quiet, to myself." He honestly didn't know why he didn't want to believe her. I mean, her diverging from her usual schedule was odd, but it wouldn't be considered unusual, per se. It was just weird. She seemed to realize his misgiving thoughts and decided to play off the whole situation, going to return back to work. She didn't finish her drink, but he shrugged and decided to follow her back to the counter to work. She became even more nervous when he fell into step behind her, and she hurried off to another direction, leaving him all the more weirded out. But soon enough, he was pulled into a side conversation with someone he didn't really care to remember, and for some reason his eyes flitted straight towards the table Johnny was then serving. He found it weird he was able to serve 2 drinks in a quick span of time, and at the same time. It usually take a bit of time for 1 coffee, but 2? His mind continued to persist in turning this thought over and over, and he just couldn't drop it at all. It wasn't until strange glimpses flashed in his mind. It was dark, but he had a third-person point of view of someone in the supply closet and tampering with the chemical jugs in there. There was definitely a leap in logic, probably one way out of left field, but he was not about to take any chances. "Hey, you there! Stop!" he cried out loudly, making all the buzz and chatter pause into silence. Just as the girl was about to leave the cafe, with possibly a dangerous drink in hand, she jumped in place, with her hold still on the door, and looked back at him, spooked. He moved to leave his place from behind the counter and most likely take her drink away, but one of his upper managers intervened at the worst time. He wasn't paying attention to her words, as he was solely focused on the girl in question, who had startlingly turned pale as a ghost, and then suddenly she was rammed into by a local marathoner, and the door slammed shut as she and her drink hit the ground hard. It was then a conflict started building between the girl's boyfriend and the marathoner, and people started to crowd around the front windows and door of the cafe to watch the fight. At this point, he decided to ignore his manager and go deal with this himself. He rushed in, trying to break through the barrier of other bodies while apologizing, but deep down, frustration was building up, and he was nearly going to lose it at this point. Once he finally fought through the other side, all he saw were 2 cups of coffee discarded on the floor in messy puddles, and the small form of the girl disappearing around the corner of the block they were on and out of sight again.